Today's video, we are going to talk about AI-based or AI-level tracking for your PPC campaigns and how that's going to make any service PPC campaign on Google or Facebook work amazingly better, upwards of 3 or even more times better than the current results that you're getting now. When I say 3 times more, I'm not talking about clicks or anything else. I mean sales. Everything that you're doing today, when you are not maximizing the tracking that you're doing with your campaigns for a service business or a high-end product business, i.e. you're selling something over $100 in cost, you're throwing half or more of your literal money away by not executing this simple thing that anybody can do with any kind of prior experience to get the extra 3x sales that they're going to get by implementing this to their PPC campaigns that they're currently running. So with that said, I'm going to go into what the exact strategy is for this that's going to be able to triple the amount of profit / sales that you're going to be getting from a set amount of ad spend so that you can institute it yourself. I'm going to go into the mechanics behind this, of course, how it actually works. And of course, with that, I'll give some examples of different businesses where we tried this out on, which we've done this to dozens of companies already at this stage, and doesn't have to take too much work once it's set up. It's one of those strategies where you're going to set it up once and you're done, baby. After that, you're going to have 3 times more results that you're going to be able to get over the long run. Maybe not obviously instantly, but definitely over the long run. And I'll kind of explain how and why that is. Namely, the name of the game with tracking is the more tracking data you get to power the AI that drives your ads on Google and Facebook, where every single sale or lead you get tells you more about how to get more sales. And ultimately, the more sales you get, the more sales you can get. Whereas you're starting out, it's pretty rough. If you stick with it long enough, you'll generally really cash out and make your millions of dollars at it if you just have the right data going into your account and have that positive feedback loop that's going to get you the long-term results that other people who have it get. So that said, I'll get right into the content. So the key to eventual and inevitable results on Google ads or Facebook ads is always kind of basically, it boils down to 3 key or individual things. The first thing that it takes to get good results on Google ads or Facebook ads is a high click-through rate on your ads. Google and Facebook are measuring your ads versus all the other ads that want to get in front of the same eyeballs as you. Whether your ads get shown a lot and for a cheap cost all has to do with the click-through rate of how the people that they put your ad in front of respond or interact with it. The more people you can get to respond, the higher your ROI. It's directly correlated. So, and people think of click-through rate like as some nebulous thing. Your click-through rate, whether you or not you make money, is not just, can you get an average click-through rate or a good click-through rate? No, you're being graded against your competition. Your click-through rate, if it's better than your competition who wants to get in front of the same people, if you're getting a higher click-through rate than them, you're going to be Google or Facebook's favorite. Why? This is simple, and this is something that people should consider, but they don't. Obviously, Google and Facebook wants to make the most money they can. What is going to make them the most money? Higher click-through rates, yes, but not necessarily, because ultimately they know they can only sell the ad space for so much. And the bigger thing is that you have to realize is people who get shitty ads learn to ignore the ads because they're automatically going to know what's on the ad that's being presented to them on that platform, whether Google or Facebook, is shit. So your brain is trained to skip over shit as a survival and energy conservation mechanism that we've evolved to have naturally as a part of our system as a human. So Google and Facebook, more than anything else, to build in long-term revenue growth, wants to promote the people that have something that's good to get in front of that, something good to put in front of their users that their users were interested from and buy, so that when people click on the ad, they say, or see the ad, specifically in this case with click-through rate, they say, huh, that's a fantastic ad. I'm going to click on it. And then whether they're thinking about it or not, which they obviously aren't, the next time they see an ad and they say, this is an ad, should I look at it or not? They're more likely to look at the ad because the last time they looked at an ad, they got a good experience and found something that they didn't necessarily know about, and glad that they found it, basically. So this is where click-through rate is really going to determine if you're going to make money or not, because if you get the higher click-through rate of, versus your competition for the same eyeballs, you're going to be Google and Facebook's favorite. They're going to push you for all the best stream of traffic where they know pretty much where all the buyers are, and they're going to give it to you for cheaper than anybody else. And with Google and Facebook only being able to charge so much for the traffic to begin with before the market can't bear it, you're going to be able to put yourself in position to be on that top of the pile of the person who makes the top 10% of the of the people who are making money from those eyeballs. You're going to be at the top of the pile. Therefore, you've basically guaranteed yourself that you're going to be able to make enough money from the cost that Facebook or Google is charging for that traffic, so that you're in position to make money. Whereas the bottom half of Facebook and Google wants you to fucking go away because you're not giving their users a good experience, so it goes the opposite way. They don't want you to make money, so that it encourages you to go away and let new people come in and try to actually see how they can do. And 90% of people who come in aren't going to survive because they're going to put a half-ass effort in. 10% of the people that do challenge the incumbents that are running ads now to do a little bit better themselves. So cream rises to the top. It'd be similar to how, Hollywood, all these people every year go to Hollywood to try to become famous. Most people don't make it. But when those few spots are, constantly competed for by thousands of people every year, the people that you actually do see on TV, movies, whatever, they're fucking amazing because of all this competition for these small, individual spots. That's how you could think of the ads. Google and Facebook want to promote the best of the best of the best of the best to get to where they draw an audience, and so they can make more money in the long run. Build long-term loyalty of their ad units, so that you'll come back and watch that next movie, because if they put out a shit movie, the next one you're not going to see. So anyway, the click-through rate, if you get that good, you can make money. But you still got two other things you always kind of need to have. If you're going to guarantee you're going to make money, good money, not just a little money, good money on Google ads and Facebook ads, which is you got to have the conversion rate. So going hand in hand with the click-through rate, if somebody clicks on your ad, they think it's amazing, but your fucking landing page is dog shit, or the landing page doesn't have the language that speaks to the individual user's desires, wants, needs, whatever, you ruined it. You basically blew it. Basically, you got to the 20-yard line at the end of the football game, and you kicked the field goal and you missed it. So the highest click-through rate in the world with a shitty landing page or a shitty offer, a lot of times you guys are just, what you're marketing is boring. You need to repackage it up so it's interesting. Just having what you have isn't good enough. Either, no matter what it is that you got that's causing you to have a low uptake rate from the people who get to your landing page to buy, to respond, you're not going to make money. So you got to have a good conversion rate. And with Google and Facebook having conversion data from your competitors, knowing how many people got a good experience from their landing pages, there's a benchmark set right from the beginning, and they're checking to see if you can meet or beat that, because they want to promote you if you can meet or beat that, because again, going back to what I said before about click-through rates, that's going to give their users a good experience, memory of what they clicked on, and ads as a whole, and they'll want to click on ads in the future because they know it can be of benefit to them. So you got to get your conversion rate right. The third thing you always got to have is your tracking. What I just touched on this a second ago. How does Google or Facebook know you have the best conversion rate in your space, or for the people that you're having, for the people that you're competing to have your ad seen by, how do they know that your conversion rate on your page is good without the tracking? So without the tracking, they don't know if you're good, if you are good. Maybe if you're bad, you can hide it from them for longer, but they'll eventually kind of figure it out anyway, through other means, basically, which I won't get into. But more importantly, along with tracking and then knowing that your landing page is good, you have a good conversion rate, or site, if it's just a site, if you're like an e-commerce business, for your tracking, when somebody converts into a sale, going back to what I said at the beginning of this video, everything you do on Google and Facebook's tracked, and you probably know this, but it's way further than you think. Literally everything that you ever done on Facebook and Google has been profiled and put into a database, to where there's gigabytes of information on you somewhere on a Google and Facebook server. They know they have millions of data points on you as a user, so when you convert, and you give Google and Facebook the confirmation that you converted on somebody else's ad, they pull all that information and then they compare that to all the other information they have on all their other users and try to learn what's unique about you that's going to be able to help them figure out how to find the most appropriate place for the next ad that's going to show up for somebody in that market. And they'll look at, okay, he likes, bowling. He, is active on Sundays. He talks about this because they, have listening feedback, or they listen to you on the Facebook and Google app if you have the microphone access shared on phones and so forth. They watch everything you do. With Google, they can watch what you do off the site. Same thing with Facebook with like the share buttons and everything else. They know more about you than they know about you, or you know about yourself. So anyway, without the tracking, the most powerful thing about online marketing that you have going for you, and why all these people are going and taking their offline marketing budgets online, and it's growing every year, it has been growing every year since 2000, you're missing out on. And so the big money comes in PPC when you built up, you fill the piggy bank, and your ad accounts with data, lots of data, so that the algorithms pretty much know who buys and who doesn't buy. If you're running a service campaign now, the problem that you have with e-commerce, it's simple. Either they buy or don't buy on the site, unless you're selling a expensive item over $100. In some cases, they have to, it may not apply to you, but if they can take the order by the phone, not all the orders are trackable through the cart and whether or not they buy. But for the most part, if you're doing e-commerce, it's simple. You set up a conversion tracking system for people who get to the shopping cart and buy, and you could pass that data back to Google and Facebook to see how much sales you got and the return you got on your ad spend. And furthermore, they could profile the type of person who buys versus don't buy. And the more conversions you get, the better they're going to get at knowing exactly the person who buys and not to have your ad show up in front of, which, to the contrary of what people think, that Google and Facebook wants to make money, and so they want to have your ad show up to people. They don't care if you make money or not. It's the opposite, because like I said, they actually want people that aren't going to be helped by your ad and offer to not even see it, so that when people see an ad, they pay attention to it. Otherwise, it would start to ignore all ads. So you got to give Google and Facebook the data so they know who to show your stuff to, because their first priority is to only show an ad to somebody who your ad and landing page will help. For a service company, you can't just say when somebody buys from my shopping cart, I can pass it back to Google and Facebook. You got phone calls, you got contact forms. You might also have chats or whatever. I won't speak too much about that. I'm mainly going to speak about phone calls today. You could, through something called call tracking, pass your call data, whether somebody called or not, to your ad account, but that's usually not good enough. Why? Because there's a lot of phone calls you get that are total shit. There's salespeople calling, clicking on your ads. There's people looking for jobs, clicking on your ads. There's bots clicking on your ads. At the end of the day, with a call tracking software like callrail or call tracking metrics, more than half of the calls might be non-sales calls. How good of a job could you do profiling a buyer versus a non-buyer if half of the data was junk and the other half was not? The algorithms don't know how to really sift through it all, or very effectively anyway. So for your ads to get really good and get to the promised land where you have 1,000, leads, quality leads come through your ads, and at that point, really, once you got like 1,000 plus, Google and Facebook's pretty much going to know and be able to profile the person who's going to be helped by your ads and on their platforms, and then your account's going to blow up, and then you're going to start to make the millions. To be able to do that, you got to be able to get you got to weed these shit calls out of your call flow, so the tracking data that you have is good. Quality data into your accounts, good quality results from your ads. Crappy quality data, crappy results long term. You never actually get to the point where your ads are very efficient, really efficient. You can always expect when you start up your ads, particularly with Facebook, that your ads are going to do really crappy for a while, months in a lot of cases, unless you have a really high spend at the beginning. You got to spend so much money just to gather the data for the ad algorithms that Google and Facebook have to know how to get you the customers efficiently. And most people think, oh, I'm going to put $1,000 into this, and if it works, it works. If not, I'll take it out. That's completely wrong. You need to invest a lot more than that. Generally speaking, if you're in a competitive market, you don't get really good results until you spent $10,000, $20,000, $30,000 already. So what I always tell people on this channel is you spend what you can afford to lose. If you can afford to put $1,000 a month into ads, and that ain't going to affect your core business, you do it, and then you watch to see if your sales month over month are slightly better than they were the previous month. And if they are, eventually, whether it's 3 months, 6 months, 12 months down the road, you're going to have a massively fucking profitable campaign. And you just stick with it until the algorithms get enough data to cross that threshold where you're break-even profitable. And then from there, it's all fucking gravy because it's all paying for itself, and it's consistently getting better and better and better and better with the more data that you've accumulated in your account. So it's not so much about you need, this much or that much data to be successful. You could think of the data that you have like a big piggy bank that you're filling up. The more that you get, the more valuable your account is. So you could pass whether somebody calls. Given most service businesses, they generate phone calls. If you're generating form fills, obviously you could pass the form data back into your account, but form data can be spam too, and I'll talk about that in a minute. But I'll talk about just calls for now. When you get a phone call and you pass that back to Google and Facebook, that's certainly better than nothing. But generally, it's not going to cut it anymore for the reasons I said: job seekers, bots. Bots are the big one. You got to be able to weed out the shitty calls so that the only thing Google and Facebook gets is the information about not just whether the call was a non-bot call, but was the call relevant? Did they actually have a chance to buy? Were they inquiring about the service itself? And were they interested in buying? Whether they bought or not is irrelevant, or it is relevant, I should say. But even if you don't have that information passing back to your account, if you just have information about somebody that was considering buying, whether they buy at a rate of 20%, 30%, doesn't matter. You've already got enough quality data in your account where you can make the millions from your ads once you've gotten enough of that level of conversion data in your account. Usually that's 50 to 100 leads, you're already going to start to do pretty well. And if you get to 1,000, it'll work amazingly well. So there's, generally speaking, a while before, you had to go ahead, if you wanted to weed out the bad calls from getting sent to Google and Facebook, you had to do something called offline conversion tracking. And I've talked about this on this channel before. You can search that video if you're interested in it, where you would go listen to the call and listen if it was a good quality call. And if so, you could flag it basically and use, send it to Google or send it to Facebook through their API, or you could upload a spreadsheet to Google or Facebook saying this call was good, this call was good, this call was not good, or whatever, and the platforms would get it. But that's time consuming to listen to all the calls if you get a lot of calls. If you get 10 calls a month right now, it may not make a difference, but if you get 1,000, that's going to take some time. And Of course, you could still use a outsourced contractor to do that kind of thing. But now you can use AI tools to know which calls were good and which calls were bad calls or irrelevant calls, and just send the information about the good quality calls by using AI to analyze what was said on the call, because the call's recorded and then it's transcribed and then it's scoured for certain keywords. If certain keywords are in the call, you could send that call data about who that person was that called to Google and Facebook, and then now you've gotten rid of the problem about the bot calls and the salespeople and all those other people screwing up your data stream that should go to Google and Facebook. The way that this actually works, in a nutshell here, is you have your website, okay? You put callrail on your website, which you could put any other call tracking program on there if it also did the same thing, but for the most part, just use callrail. It's the most reliable program, and it's still affordable. There's no reason for me to use any other call program but callrail, and callrail doesn't pay me. It's just it's just the best one. I'm just trying to help you out. It's reliable and it's affordable. So callrail is on your website. Callrail picks up when somebody calls after they've came to your website from an ad. If they call, callrail picks it up if they call or don't call. On callrail, for an extra $50 a month, there's something called conversion intelligence. And conversion intelligence is going to transcribe the call and figure out, using an automated system, AI, I should say, to first transcribe the call and see what the people were saying on the call. And then from there, you can analyze if there's any keywords that they said that indicated it was a quality call or that they were seriously interested in buying from you. If there was, you use the integration between callrail and your Google Ads account, which callrail provides, and you don't need any programming to do this. That data about the call that had somebody who said they want to quote or they want to set an appointment gets sent to Google Ads in the Google Ads conversion menu. All right? And you have a goal set up in your Google Ads conversion menu or your Facebook conversion menu for quality calls that were screened by the AI system that callrail has using this conversion intelligence add-on that you can get for callrail. And once they flow into your conversion menu, of course, that data now flows into under your campaigns to show that your campaigns got X number of verified quality calls. And then it flows to, from there, quality calls that came from this time of day versus this other time of the day, this day of the week versus another day of the week, this device versus another device, this male versus female, this age bracket versus this other age bracket, this state from this other state, this city versus this other city, and on and on and on and on. And it actually can go pretty deep, particularly with Google. So, in time, yes, the algorithms that Google and Facebook has is going to use all that information to get you better results. But on top of that, you can use it as well as an advertiser to guide your ads, which you should also do. And just look at the data. Where's the quality calls coming from? Oh, 18 to 24, there's not a single quality call. Even though I've had 15 calls for that age bracket, not one of them were qualified, whereas under 45 to 55, I got 5 calls and 2 are qualified. Well, let's just get rid of 18 to 24 now. Let's not let the algorithm eventually, go after 18 to 24. Let's just cut it out right now. And you can do that once you have the data, the quality data that tells you to do that in your account, and you've waited a little bit of time to build up some data. You've spent some money, you invested some money to gather the data so you knew what part of your account's producing most of the results, so that you can weed out the part of the account that doesn't produce the results, or even better, instead of just cutting out certain parts of your account, you do what I do and you reduce your bidding for certain parts of the account that produce above average, and then take that budget and then reapply it to the parts of the account that's producing above average. So going back to the 18 to 24 example, if that's what you find doesn't produce good results, you find out what it converts at, how much are you paying per qualified call for 18 to 24 versus the average cost of a qualified call throughout your entire ad account. And based upon how much more the cost per qualified call is, you'll reduce what you're willing to pay for 18 to 24 based upon how badly it converts. So you could say, Google, okay, I could see that I'm paying 3 times as much for a qualified call on 18 to 24 as I am with the rest of the age demographics. So I'm willing to pay, instead of $1 per click on 18 to 24, I'll pay 30 cents. And then Google may not be able to send you any traffic because the threshold for getting traffic for 18 to 24 is higher than that, or it could give you some traffic, but all the calls you get from then on for 18 to 24 are the same cost as the rest of the age demographics, and you'll get a trickle from 18 to 24. Not a lot, but at least a trickle versus the none that you would have if you were like the typical blunt person that's just going to not think deeply about it and just cut out everything in 18 to 24 automatically. And you do that through something called a bid modification formula. Google has that to give you. It tells you, okay, you plug in, here's your cost per qualified call, here's your account average cost per qualified call, set your bid at XYZ, you plug it in, and then from then on, you're going to get a qualified call from that section of your account at a cost that matches the account average cost per qualified call. And that assumes, by the way, if the cost per qualified call in your account is acceptable, you could go a second option and just say, I'm not getting anywhere near the cost per qualified call that I need. So first, I'm going to reduce my bidding across the entire account by 50%. And then I'm going to go section by section and do that, deciding what I'm willing to pay for this section of the account versus this section of the account, so that ultimately, once I go through both of those actions, I'm getting a cost per qualified call at the cost I want it, and I'm getting the most of them I can, because in the parts of the account that's producing above average results, I'm doubling and tripling down on that part. And taking budget from the part of the account that's not really producing much and reallocating it, so that not only is your cost per qualified call now where it needs to be profitable for your business, because you've analyzed how many qualified calls it takes to get to a sale, and average revenue per sale, and figure out what you could pay for a qualified call, you're actually getting the most profit out of your account, because the part that's producing above average results or beyond the point in which is profitable to you, you're telling Google and Facebook, I want as much of that as I can, so that you're not just getting some, you're getting as most as you can from those parts of your account. And that's how you make the most money from Google and Facebook, when you are able to understand what parts of your account are doing above average, so you can just slam them. And then vice versa if they're producing below average results. So anyway, this process gives you the data about quality calls and lets you put it into your ad accounts to make that kind of happen, make those decisions possible to do. Form leads, by the way, most service businesses are able to, they have enough phone calls that if all you had was the phone call data, you could already do really well. If you want to do the best you can, you also do the same kind of process with the form leads. But unfortunately, with a form lead, there's no callrail, call intelligence to be able to let you weed out a good lead from a bad lead. So, technically you could use an AI program if you were going to get real sophisticated, and on your contact form, ask people what they want, and then analyze the form fill contents for that field that asks them what they want or what their comments are, and then only send data to Google or Facebook if they said certain words, similar to how conversion intelligence works on callrail. But for the typical person that's not spending a whole, like $100,000 a month on ads already, you're probably not going to worry about that. But you could do what our firm does still, and looks at every form lead that comes in, compares that to the sales that we have in the accounting system, find the people who bought from the accounting system, match that up with the name that's on the name field on the form leads that came in, and if there's a match, pass that data back to Google Ads and Facebook Ads, so that the quality form data is going into the accounts, and not just whether somebody filled out the form by itself, giving us much, much superior results than just telling the ad platforms if a lead came in, because there's so much difference between one lead and another lead. And generally speaking, the places where the best leads come in aren't the cheapest. So you got to be able to understand where the good quality leads and the actual profits coming from. That's why you go through with it. Particularly on Google, because generally speaking, I see people all the time, they target broadly in their local home service market or what have you, and they're just going to go for the cheapest leads. The cheapest leads are not even close to the best leads. So then because of that, where the best quality leads come from, the Google's bidding algorithm doesn't even touch the parts of the account that's producing the highest quality leads, because other advertisers are going after the places that produce the higher quality leads more, making the ad cost or the cost per click go up for those places. Therefore, the lead costs go up in those places, meaning then the algorithm's going to optimize your account to just stay away from the highest quality leads and then go after the lowest quality leads, because that's what you told it to do. You don't want to do that. You want to give it the data about who's a qualified lead and optimize for qualified leads, not just a lead. Going back to the conversion intelligence here with callrail, once you got this system hooked up for your service business or a high-end product business where you take orders over the phone, you turn on conversion intelligence, and then you tell conversion intelligence that's going to transcribe all your calls which keywords, if they find it in the call transcripts, are going to qualify a call to be sent to Google or Facebook. And it would be keywords like appointment, how much, quote, request for quote, schedule, cost, payment, buy, estimate, credit card, and on and on and on. You could come up with your own list. Obviously, every market, it's going to be a little different. There's a little different lingo used. But that's the general gist of it. It looks for keywords that, for the most part, if the person uses this, they have to be qualified. And then what callrail actually lets you do is set a value per keyword if you want it. So what you can do, in other words, is you could say, and taking this a step backwards, going back to what I was talking about before, you should have, before you even start advertising, or if you've not done it already, do it now. Go into your books, your accounting system for the last 3 years, and find out, A, what an average job's worth or what an average sale's worth. If you're got a monthly recurring fee that you're charging people, we'll find out the average length of time that they stay. Find the lifetime value of a customer on average. Then go ahead and look at the number of leads in your lead system that you use to track all your leads in your CRM or whatever, and compare that to the number of sales you made to get a lead close rate. Once you've done all that, you kind of understand how to run your account efficiently. With the right tracking, you know if you're on target or not. And then if you're not, you know how to guide the account so that it will be on target. So it's not a matter of if you will make money, it's just a matter of how much time is it going to take for you to understand how to dial it in to get to the exact ROI that you want. So if you could find out, for instance, that it takes on average 6 leads to make a sale, okay? And of the average lifetime value of a customer, you take that number divided by 6, in other words, to find the average value per lead to your company. Once you have that, you could just then make your list of keywords like I mentioned you should have to identify a qualified call or qualified lead call, or a call that's qualified or has a qualified person on it, and then assign that value of a lifetime value divided by number of leads it takes to get a sale. And when you get a call that contains one of these keywords, you send that so-called value or value per lead that you calculated to Google and Facebook. And then in your Facebook and Google account, you'll see inside your account at all the different levels, like I was talking about before, you can do how many, of course, qualified calls you got, but also, what's the value? So I spent $300 to get a qualified call. Qualified call's worth $600. I'm making money. I can do more of this as long as my ad spend isn't more than $600 per qualified call. I can scale the ads and know that it's profitable. And that's the position you want to be in. You want to be in, how can I spend more money and maintain the cost per qualified call that I know I need to be profitable as a company? But going back to what I was saying here, you could set a value per keyword anytime anyone uses any of my buying keywords. That data and an attached value is sent to these Google and Facebook's ad platforms, or you could break it down like I do and break it out by category. I usually will have one category just for serious informational type queries. People asking how much, cost. They're asking basically about the price. That's not a call that is a true, basically it's one level of call, basically. And I'll assign a value to those specific types of calls. Then I'll have another tier, if they're using words like buy, schedule, that type of thing, I'll put it in another tier where the value that I'm sending of what the call's valued at that I'm sending to Google and Facebook will be at a different amount. And of course, going into my counting system and understanding, what a customer's worth overall in terms of their lifetime value and, all the repeat purchases that they're going to do through us, what somebody who's already looking to schedule is worth to us versus somebody who just called in but is serious is worth to us. And you can run that math. So, with that, once you'll go into callrail and you're going to tell callrail what keywords to look for, and then if they use the keywords, how much that call's worth, and then once you've got that set up and you've linked your callrail to Google Ads or Facebook Ads, you're done. Did the campaigns just have more, call value data that builds up in your account? The more, of course, you have, the better the results are going to get. That's just how you create. That's how you set up that positive feedback loop into motion for your business. Once it's set up, you don't have to do anything else. The results will keep getting better and better in your account over time because you went through the actions to do this for your company. Like I said, some of you guys, some markets, there might be 50% of the leads you get are through calls, 50% are through form fills. In that case, you could probably get pretty good results doing the callrail integration I talked about here and then not even worry about the form leads. But some of you guys, 70% of your leads will come through the form and 30% come from calls. And in that case, you kind of are going to have to make this really decent for yourself, upload the form leads that turn into a quality lead or a sale to the ad platforms, in addition to the call data, sending that to the ad platforms for the ads to do what it's supposed to do for you. So using the offline conversion tracking process I talked about before. So it's more labor intensive. You could get an employee or outsourced contractor, show them, do a little screen sharing video on how to, take the export from your accounting software every month and compare that to the form leads that you have coming in every month and doing a matchup game and then sending the data about who was a qualified lead or who was not, or who, better yet, the better option is who turned into a sale or not. As long as somebody's turned into a sale within 90 days, you can actually send that level of information to your account and get even better results. Drawback to that, by the way, is you're going to have less sales, so it's going to take more time to build critical mass and the amount of data that you need for the ad platforms to really dial in your ads well. But you could do it that way once you get enough data. And a lot of times I'll send qualified leads to my account, or even start with just sending whether a form lead came in to guide my ads, and then eventually if I get enough data, I'll switch to qualified leads and only send and optimizing off that data, and then eventually I'll optimize off of sales data only, so that I'm using whatever data that I have available to me that's going to work and have enough of it to make for the algorithms to make smart decisions on my behalf. So anyway, you may have to also add your form lead data, and it might have to be done manually. And you might have to do that with your chat leads, depending on what percentage of all the leads you get is through chat. But you get the general gist of what I'm saying here. Phone calls may not be a significant enough portion of your leads to only rely on this to steer your ads. I want to say the break-even point is 50-50. If at least 50% of all the leads you get are through the phone, you can actually do extremely well just doing this and not even worrying about the form lead and whether I'll still send the form lead data to my account, but I won't worry about if that form lead was qualified or not. And it'll do mostly pretty well anyway, even though you technically still will get the best results only sending the data that you have verified as, form lead data that was qualified to your account, to weed out 100% of the unqualified lead data and take that out of your data stream that Google and Facebook is getting. So anyway, that's in general how you 3x the profitability of your account that you're going to get otherwise. A lot of people don't even do call tracking. But call tracking by itself, in a lot of cases, isn't that hot in terms of the results that you're going to get long term. Most of you guys will get the 3x of results by only sending qualified data, and you can do it manually, sending the data to your account manually and listening to the calls manually through offline conversion tracking, like I talk about on my other videos, or you can use conversion intelligence and set it up once and forget it. And for what it cost you, $50 a month, and what you guys usually spend thousands a month in ad spend, and what you could hire, our firm or a firm like ours to set this up for you, which will probably cost you, it might even be like $3,000 to set it up, because it takes some time to set it up. Or you could do it if you're short on money. But for what it cost, even if it cost you $3,000 for a firm to set it all up for you just perfectly, you're going to make that $3,000 a month back in profit 18 months from now once you've built up 18 months worth of data. So it's an investment into your future. You may not get the profit right away, and therefore you don't give a shit about it now, but 18 months from now you're going to wish that you did it. Examples in terms of where we got these results before. I can tell you a great example about in the environmental services space, basically where you do ESA assessments, site assessments, where you're testing, like if you're doing a property development, you're testing the soil and everything, you got to get that kind of testing done in order to build in a certain place. Company that was doing that, and basically we're doing call tracking before, but the quality of the calls that they were getting is all over the place, because people could look for soil testing, for that kind of thing, or they could type in ESA assessments, or they could type ESA phase 2 assessments and so forth. So there was a great variety in the keywords, and I knew basically there's got to be one hell of a difference between one call and another, just depending on what they said. Did they say ESA phase 1? Did they say ESA phase 2? So we broke it out like I told you here, where you can break it out if they just ask how much it is versus scheduling appointment, sending different values to Google Ads. You can then optimize, and this was through Google Ads that we used this data. So you can optimize your account based upon what's producing, a good lead versus a great lead or whatever. So depending on which keyword they use, if they use a phase 2 in their phone call transcript, we assign one value. If they use phase 1, it was another value. If they use soil testing, it was another value. And basically every service that they had, we categorized it like that, which is one great way to do it. So like I said, this is depending on your business, you can do this, your own unique way. The amount of difference we were able to get out of that account, the amount that we got out of that account was more than 5 times in terms of the profit that we were able to get out of that account before. Most people, and the main reason why we're able to get more, and what most of you guys get killed on, is the fact that most people arbitrarily set their ad budgets up. In that, they say, I could spend $3,000 a month on ads. Just keep it at $3,000 a month. And they have no clue what the ratio and direct effect of their ads has on their, or impact their ads have on their actual top line revenue of their company. Once you're in position to understand that relationship between ad spend and revenue, you'll be in position to scale your account. And that's mainly what it's about. So I mentioned the benefit of having this level of data so you could see what parts of your account's producing more results. The bigger effect of all of this is for you, this puts you in position to scale your account. So you can specifically see where the really, really, really good quality leads come in, and then just absolutely fucking slam that part of your account so that everybody else that doesn't have that same level of data awareness about what a phase 2 lead's worth, and they're evaluating the leads from phase 2 versus phase 1 the exact same way as a soil testing lead because they're not that sophisticated in what they do, you're going to end up with every last phase 2 lead, or basically, obviously, there's more than one ad showing on Google, but for the most part, you're going to damn well make sure that you're showing up every single time. If that lead's producing a profit at 15x, or 15 to 1 return on your ad spend in that particular area of your account. So once we understood what services were producing above average results, and we could just have an unlimited budget there as long as we were keeping within the confines of the type of return that we're trying to get between how much we're spending and the kind of revenue that we're able to generate, and understanding how many of those leads turn into sales and what those sales are worth. We've got more than 5x time, or 5 times more profit, more than 5 times more profit from that account doing that for that particular client. So with that, and in the e-commerce space, it's just as powerful if you take any kind of orders over the phone. Why is that? Because the biggest orders statistically are the orders that are going to come through the phone, because that's just how things roll. If you're more concerned about your purchase, and you are more concerned if what you're spending is a bigger it costs more, you want to be more sure about, it's more risky basically to spend more money. You're going to be therefore more likely to call before you order. Just check out the company, check out how they deal with how's their customer service, all that type of thing. If you don't track the phone calls coming in, you only track the cart purchases, you're losing the data that comes into your account about these gigantic orders that come through. So there are certain levels, certain types of keywords that generate these monster phone calls, if you will, that you're just not going to see if you don't have this data coming back into your ad account. And so we did this for a paint supplier that sold specialized paint. I'll leave out the exact type of paint for the client's privacy purposes. But once we were flowing in the data about what was a qualified purchase and all the ones that were coming in through the phone, even though around 10 to 20% was all basically all the purchases that were coming through were about 20% through the phone. Everybody else either called and then just finished their purchase on the website, or just purchased on the website without calling. The amount of money that we started to make went over double what we were making before, because we had that awareness about the business customers that came through. Business customers that instead of spending $1, $2, $3, $4, $5, $600 for a purchase, because this was an item that both the end consumer could buy from them as well as businesses. The average purchase for a consumer was about $300 to $400. The average purchase for a business was $3,000 to $4,000, or roughly thereof, basically 10 times more. So once we understood where the big business customers come from, searching for things like the word and using the word industrial or high traffic that other individual end consumers don't use, which we knew, obviously, it's obvious that when somebody types in those words, those leads and sales are going to be worth more. But we didn't know how much more, for one. And ultimately, even though we knew which ones, type of business customers were worth more, within that, there's certain keywords that the business customers even used that generated the lion's share of all the big ass purchases. Some tens of thousands of dollars, because they're doing a huge building or what have you. So we were able to double the amount of profit that the account was generating over the long term specifically by just having that extra little bit of data. For you guys that are doing like home services or selling services to businesses, professional services to businesses, instead of doubling, you're going to get at least tripling, because you're going to know what part of that account drives the monster deals. You might actually get and find out through the data things like, this is where resellers come from, and then being able to triple down there and get triple, and then therefore get 3 times as many dealer inquiries that go on to then make you millions of dollars down the long term. So there's different things that you can identify once you have the lead level data, revenue level data in your account physically. So you'll have to identify, of course, how you want to send your data to your account. Once you got that done, the results can only get better. So anyway, that's how you actually improve the results 3x or more for your service company through using AI tracking. And all done without having to be a programmer to do it. And affordable for you guys to do it. So I'll wrap it up with that. Hopefully you enjoyed this video. I have a lot of other videos on this channel about other money-making PPC strategies, just like this one. So if you want to learn how to make a boatload of money with PPC, you need to subscribe to this channel. If you like this video, I'd appreciate it if you would give it a like. It's helped me get the content out to other people like you that could use it. I really appreciate that. If you have any questions about anything I covered today, you want to set this up for yourself and don't quite know how to do it, or have any other questions about what you're doing, leave me a comment below. I get back to every single person who leaves me a comment on this channel, usually within a couple days' time. Beyond that, if you head over to my site at guaranteedppc.com/blog, I also got a blog that I write that has really good step-by-step information on how to set up PPC campaigns that are guaranteed to work for you, as we have to guarantee results for our clients at our firm, because that's what we do here. If you want to learn how to get guaranteed results for yourself, that can be a great supplementary piece of a resource for you to make a pile of money at PPC as well. Between the blog and the channel that I'm running here, this is the best information you could find, best practical advice on how to make money with PPC that you're going to find elsewhere on YouTube and on the web for that matter. As far as I'm concerned anyway, because it comes from somebody who runs an agency and strategizes several dozen accounts at any given time for clients, and giving you straight from myself what works and what doesn't work with PPC. That all said, as a last final note, I want to mention here that we have a new program that we started where we're offering templates, templated PPC campaigns, to where if you don't want to work with a PPC agency like ours, you can actually now, if we've gotten results in your market and there's no conflict of interest, instead of getting the full-on PPC services from us, you can get a templated version of the campaign that works in your market already. So ultimately, that comes with campaigns and landing pages that you can copy and paste into your account. So if you're in a fairly common niche, and we've worked in it before, we've worked in hundreds of spaces now, hundreds of niches, we can copy and paste an account into your account that skips all the work you have to do to get the fantastic results in your market. Or you could start a business and use our campaign templates to generate a passive income business for yourself, given you can do what other people are doing with our campaign templates and outsourcing the work to another partner local in their area and taking 10 or 20% of the float off the top for their profit margin, which is another interesting thing you can do with campaign templates that work, that we spent years a lot of times building up the results in those markets. So anyway, if you're interested in seeing if we have results in your market that you could copy and paste the success of in your account, just reach out to us. We'll let you know what we have, as well as the type of results you could see in your market from those templates, or from that template that we already have working in your market already. So with that though, I'll wrap it up with that. Hopefully you enjoyed this video. It was informative, and I'll see you on my next video where we have another great PPC strategy for you there. See you then.